I'm so thrilled today to talk to Lindsay and Lori Moreland. Lindsay is an adult, an autistic adult, and she is going to share with us her experience. And her mom, Lori, is with us too. So, welcome to the show, both of you.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Yes,
You
thank
are
you.
welcome. And I was wondering, Lindsay, if you could introduce yourself and tell us who you are.
Yeah, my name is Lindsay Moreland. I was diagnosed with autism at 28 months old. My parents were given very little hope of what I will become as an adult. They were told that I would never get a job, I would never go to college, never drive a car, but I proved them all wrong. I am a full-time employee at Target. I am an artist and I drive a car and I am a homeowner with my sister Brittany.
Oh my God. Okay, so I didn't even know half of that about you. You are amazing.
Thank you.
Okay, and Lori, your mom is sitting with you. And
Yes.
can you tell us about yourself, Lori?
Yeah, so I'm Lori, Lindsay's mom, and also Brittany, who's not here with us today, but I am a full-time salon owner in my home, have wonderful clients that have been really supportive through all these years of living with Lindsay's story and Brittany's story. So Lindsay with autism, Brittany with epilepsy and mental health. And my husband Todd and I have just been real huge supporters of the girls. And back when those people were telling us that the girls would never be able to do these things, especially Lindsay, I thought to myself, we'll just see about that. So probably my biggest accomplishment I feel is just to keep these girls going, and they're just so successful. Giving
Okay,
people
well, I can see where Lindsay got her attitude from, the can-do attitude. So that's wonderful. It sure takes a team and a parent behind you. So,
yes.
Lindsay, you said you were diagnosed at 28 months. That's so young. When was the first time you maybe heard the word autism?
Yeah, very good question. I thought, so my family and I wrote a story of autism, a family lives beyond the label. It's even mentioned on chapter 1, so I thought I would read you guys the first page.
Perfect.
Chapter 1. What is autism? You have autism, my mom said one day as we were sitting at home. I was crying and feeling bad about school and friends. I remember being in seventh grade and school was just so hard. It was not just the subjects that challenged me. I could handle math, reading, and writing with some help. However, it was socializing that was difficult. Where should I sit at lunch? Who would want to sit by me? Would my partner be Who would be my partner when the teacher tells the class to find a partner? Would I once again be the last one chosen as other students look around searching for the best friend? Why can't the teacher just pick our partners and save me this agony of worrying? Who will I sit by on the bus? Will I walk up and down the aisle asking, "Can I sit by you?" Will the familiar response be, "No, I'm saving this for someone," or "We don't have room"? These were my daily concerns. These were the thoughts I cried about. My mom, dad, and family helped me deal day after day and year after year. This is not the beginning of my story. I didn't just wake up in middle school and have autism yet. It's my first memory of hearing the word. It's not the end of the story either. What is autism? I wondered. I had absolutely no idea. I just knew that it meant I didn't have friends right now, and I don't know how to make them. In my mind, autism meant having no friends. Autism meant I was odd, different, and basically not normal.
Hmm. I'm so glad you read that piece of the chapter because I bet a lot of people, a lot of autistic kids, teenagers can completely relate to what you just said. And Lori, what age was Lindsay when you actually told her she has autism?
So we really never sat down and had a conversation. I guess the word was brought up all the time. I mean,
Mhm.
it was a daily conversation. But I guess I think back on it, and really it was that day that Lindsay came to me in seventh grade and said, you know, crying all the time. And when she said, "Why don't I have friends? Why am I different? Why is this?" And I said, "Well, Lindsay, you have autism." And she
Mm,
was like, "What is autism?" And yet Lindsay was so severe, at the beginning stage of this, nonverbal, having severe tantrums, pushed me away. The moment that they put Lindsay in my arms, she pushed me away. And I would give her a bottle. I'd lay on the sofa and put my arm around her in a car seat because if I touched her, she screamed. And yet we never literally said to her, "You have autism." I don't know why, but yet she was going to therapy all over and getting all this extra help. But it just, I don't, it's weird when I think about that I never sat down before that and said, "Lindsay, you have autism." But I didn't want it to define her either. I wanted to just be like, it's a part of our family, but it's not our whole entire story.
yeah. Yeah. And especially at the time, you're 30 now, right, Lindsay?
Yes.
So back at that time, it wasn't openly talked about, and people weren't saying, let the child know so that they can
Right.
understand that that's their neurotype, that's the way they're wired, and it's okay and it's not wrong. But it was different then, you know.
Very.
You were trying to figure out, find, therapies and all of that kind of stuff to help her. And I suppose even with my students back 25 years ago, it wasn't common that parents sat down and said, "Hey, guess what?" You know? So,
Right. And our family was being shamed. I mean, we were really shamed a lot. I mean, it was like, we didn't dare go into a restaurant. We, couldn't go to a park. We lived like prisoners. If I was home with the girls, time to go get groceries, because everywhere we went, Lindsay just was not able to walk into a new doorway, just walking over the threshold of a door. She would
mhm,
just start screaming and just flailing all over. And so so we were a big production everywhere we went. Well, you're just going to stay home then. And
yeah.
people didn't know autism.
I think a lot of parents can relate to that. I know a lot of my former students and their families, the parents feel like that too. They'll do tag team for outings because it's
Yep.
just too hard for their kids.
Right.
And then they feel also like the shame, and it's not shame about the child, it's just people misinterpret what some of those meltdowns are. Like, I don't know, do you remember any of that at that age, Lindsay, or were you too young to remember?
To be honest, I was extremely young to remember those
Yeah.
things. It's when they had to videotape me during after the diagnosis. I first time saw it, how I acted and behaved. I just felt so ashamed and hurt. Like
Oh,
I felt so bad of how I acted in front of my family. I'm like, I just wish I can go back and be like the normal kid and be well behaved for all of them. But I know I can't do that. But then I learned that it's part of my autism. I just didn't know how to communicate that time.
yeah.
And they reassured me that it was never my fault.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. There's a saying that I say a lot and a lot of speech therapists say, behavior is communication. So you
Right.
were just trying to communicate and understand what was going on in the world around you. And there's
Mhm.
absolutely no shame in that. But I understand why looking back and seeing a video, you're like, whoa, sorry, mom. I don't know why I was doing that. Do you remember anything from elementary years?
Well, with preschool, I do remember that I would love to be by the art easel. I love to paint, draw, and then sometimes when they do like picture taking um, for like the year and stuff, I would just want to be under the table because I did not want to be part of that. And sometimes I would want to be away from the crowds, like it would be just too much for me, like too many people at once.
Yeah. Oh gosh, when you mentioned picture taking, like that's one of the things with my students throughout the years. Like we would do everything we could to make it a fun experience so that we could get a good picture for the parents. The child didn't really care. But that can be a really, really stressful time. And it's
Mhm.
interesting out of all the things when we talk about school that you remember that
Yeah.
because there's a lot of pressure. Like
Yeah.
you go there, there's a crowd around, you have to sit in front of everyone and fake smile, and then there's like cameras and different people trying to be crazy to make you smile. I mean,
Yeah,
that's a lot of pressure on a kid.
it is. Yeah.
So is there anything else with like friendships that you remember from elementary, or was it kind of the same as you described when you were in seventh grade, like not being picked?
Yeah, so elementary, I did have some friends growing up, but then when it came to middle school, they didn't say hi to me. Then that's when I started to get bullied and ignored.
Okay, that was one of the questions I was going to ask you is if you encountered bullying. Because I know at the elementary level, when I was there, you know, there came a time when we started talking more about autism, talking openly about it, and talking both ways. So not only would we say, maybe Lindsay's autistic and that's what this means, and here's a book we're going to read about it, but we'd also talk to the other kids on how they could be a good friend. So it's not just the autistic child's job to try to be more typical, it's the typical kid's job also to find ways to relate and be friends with an autistic kid. So, but I think when you were growing up, it probably wasn't that experience so much. But at elementary, I feel like kids are a little more naturally compassionate, kinder overall, but middle school, not so good. And that sounds like that was your experience.
Yeah. And
And
in
when,
high school, sorry,
no, go ahead.
in high school, it just got worse and worse.
Oh, it did in high school.
Yeah.
And when you encountered bullying, like what kind of things?
Yeah, so I would be the last one chosen for a class partner, and no one would sit by me at the lunch in the cafeteria. Like, there are small tables for like 8 seats for 8 students per table. I was the only one by myself, and then other people were just crowded by the windows.
Mm.
And then I would sit alone in the bus, and then they would make fun of me, laugh behind my back at the things that I do.
And you could tell that they were doing that.
Hmm.
Yeah. Well, I'm sorry you went through that. It's
Thank you.
unacceptable, especially those of us that are like our passion is for helping kids succeed. And then hearing that, maybe former students or kids as they get older that we pour so much love into when they're young have to deal with that. It's just unexcusable. And, I don't know. I wish they could find a way to fix that because that had to affect your mental health over the years. Like if you're constantly being treated that way, I don't know how you could come out of that without being affected.
Yeah, and then during that time, I just felt like I did not belong anywhere in this world. I felt like I didn't existed.
Mm,
And something else, Lindsay, that I think is good to talk about too is when she came home and said to me, I can't be in this class living on my own. And I said, Lindsay, that's a really important class. I mean, that's what we've worked for all along is to have her be independent and live independently as much as she can and is doing that. But at the time, I didn't know if that was ever going to be possible. So she's telling me she can't be in this class because of this mean girl. And
mm,
my regret is, because as a parent, I can regret it now, but you don't want to be that parent that is always running to a teacher. I mean, we have a lot of educators in our family. I have high respect for educators. And I'm thinking, Lindsay's one of several students, and I can't run to an educator every time you turn around, something doesn't work right for our family. So I just let her kind of just, do this on her own and went in and just said, I need to quit. And it should have been resolved in a better way. She should have never left that class. But they excused her
yeah.
from the class literally because this girl was so mean to her every day. And it was the same mean girl every day, day after day. And
Wow.
so, Lindsay, you didn't, she couldn't express to the level of it until after like when she was in college. And then and even too, when we started writing our family story, a lot of this came out and I really did not have a full understanding. I would have never allowed that. But, what are you going to do? You just move forward.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you
It's
feel like
hard.
it was hard to express the extent of it, Lindsay? Just,
Yeah, I think it's hard to express it, absolutely.
yeah. I'm so glad you're through those years because those can be really hard for kids, those middle and high school years.
Yeah.
What kind of things helped you? when you were growing up? Like, what did you look back at whatever age and say, this was really helpful to me?
Well, starting with a very young age, after being diagnosed, I went through therapy. I had speech, occupational, and therapy. And then also, I've been growing up with stomach ache issues, so I had to be on a gluten-free diet, and I realized that diet helped change my behavior.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Did you just one day you started a gluten-free diet just to see, and then you're like, this is helping me a lot.
Yes. Yes.
And
That's
I will say too, Tara, so a big part of that is, so I have celiac disease. And we probably would have never done the diet. I mean, again, we go back way many years ago too. Gluten-free today is easy, really. But back then, like a loaf of bread was $10 and it was like a hockey puck and it was disgusting. But after, and yeah, and Lindsay would, I mean, live on milk and wheat, and she was always sick. And actually, it was our family doctor that really encouraged us to get her tested due to the fact that I have it. And sure enough, she came back that she has celiac, and that was life changing. I mean, to me, it was like Lindsay acted just like the tantrums just went away. I mean, she was 10 years old, and all of a sudden the tantrums just subsided. She got better language. She just calmed down. But I mean, poor her, she was sick all the time. She was
yeah.
always in the hospital, always hooked up to an IV. I mean, just always had all these terrible illnesses. And for us, for her, that was life changing.
Wow. Yeah. My daughter, who is 26, she never got tested for celiac because you have to go off the gluten-free diet
Right?
to do it,
Yeah.
but she had
Yeah.
had migraines, and so just a couple years ago, she decided to go gluten-free and kind of did an elimination diet and found that gluten seems to be the thing that causes her migraines, and she would love to get a celiac test, but she's like, I don't want to go off the diet and eat wheat and
No.
gluten again to take the test. So I hear you there. There's so many better choices now for food.
Right.
So that's good.
Yeah.
Well, what was the transition like for you to go from the school setting to an employment setting? Because that's a pretty big transition.
Huge transition. My mom thought it would be a good idea for me to start employment at a very young age. So, in junior year of high school, I worked at my first job at American Hotel. I was as housekeeper first, but then I didn't want to touch like naughty stuff as for like tobacco chewing products, junk food wrappers,
Yeah.
and 'cause I want to respect my mom's rules because she called those products naughty. So then I avoid touching it. So then they're like, we're gonna have you make beds. So that's all I did at the hotel was making beds.
Okay, well that's better then, huh? That
Yeah,
sounds like a better gig than picking up all that stuff.
absolutely. And then from high school, I went to college. Still didn't go as well as I planned, as I hoped for, because I didn't have friends. I would be living with anxiety almost every day. I'd be worrying the failing classes. I study all the time, so I just thought for my health purposes, I should take a break from college and then go to employment. I wasn't ready at that time, so I volunteered for a year at my aunt's elementary school and two other elementary schools. I thought it'd be really fun to do a paraprofessional job, not only help teachers, but also help students as well.
Awesome. How did that go?
I really loved volunteering there. It's been so much fun working with both teachers and students at the same time. And then after a year of volunteering, I had 5 interviews with 5 rejections. That was definitely the hardest summer. It just felt like going through school again, never felt accepted. I'm like, when will I ever be accepted in this
Yeah.
world? I'm like, I just don't want to be hurt again. I just want to be normal. I want to be like others. But then I heard that there's this YMCA job. They had people with employees with differences. I'm like, let's try that. So then my mom had to go with me during the interview, and then I finally got my job. And they said to my mom, it's their loss. our gain.
Oh my gosh. Okay. That's the kind of place you want to work for, right?
Yeah.
And I
And
bet your volunteering at the school helped give you some experience that would be helpful at the YMCA too.
yes, that's
Awesome.
correct.
So how long did you work there?
Yeah, so I worked for 2.5 years. I was membership services, so I help members sign up for joining the Y or put it on hold or cancel, and I help join, and then I just help by greeting them as they entered in the building. And I also do kid stuff, so I would play with the kids, read books to them, color with them, and then I would hold babies. It was so much
Oh,
fun. Kids
oh,
are so fun to be with. I even have to tell you this one funny story. There's
oh,
this
good.
cute little girl who always looks up to me. She calls me Cindy, Sissy. I just love it. It just melts my heart. It's
That
just
is
love it.
sweet. Oh my
It's just the
gosh.
sweetest thing I've ever heard.
If you
And
ever want to feel accepted, right? Go work
yes,
with little kids as an adult because
yes.
they love you no matter what. They think you are the best.
Yeah. And then when 2020 happened with the pandemic, I had to be laid off. And then during that time, I was like, oh, I want to be out of the house. I need to work. I need to keep myself busy. So,
Yeah.
all on my own, without any of my parents' help, I've been job searching. And then I'm like, there's an opening on Target, like cashiering, guest advocate. I'm like, oh, I could do that. So, I applied for that. And then the next days later, I've been called for an interview. And then the next day, I had an interview and I said to them, I have to be honest, I have autism. And they say, thank you for sharing. Welcome to Target.
Oh my God. I have goosebumps. Seriously. So you were brave enough to disclose
Yeah.
that, um, and they were like, doesn't matter. We like you. You're good. That's awesome, Lindsay. And
Thank
now
you.
you've been there ever since, and it's just gone so well.
Yeah.
What
How
do you
many
like
years
about
now?
Target? Oh, is there a story?
My mom just said how many years. Oh,
Oh,
in 5 more days, it'll be 4 years since I worked there.
4 years.
It feels
Congratulations.
longer.
Does
Thank you.
it?
And you should share, Lindsay, what you've done in those 4 years, like
Yeah.
meeting Brian and
Yeah. So I am a guest advocate, so I do cashiering and self checkouts, and I even do cash office. So I organize the funds from yesterday's date, and then I organize the tomorrow's date. And one of my best recognitions is um, being an employment of the month for February 2022.
You were.
That was
Yes.
a dream come true because growing up, I wanted an award for something because I see other people like athletes getting awards, medals, trophies. I never had that. So when I was in California with my family at 14, I decided to get myself a trophy. So I bought my own Hollywood trophy that says Person of the Year. And I'm like, oh, and then I finally felt accepted. I finally got a recognition of something. But then I didn't have to buy that because I been finally selected as employment of the month. That is like the best dream come true ever.
Yeah. Not only to be recognized by your employer, but publicly recognized like that. And because you are you and you are good at what you do. And my guess is that you're friendly with coworkers, customers. Like if you
Yes.
bring this bright disposition and attitude, positive attitude wherever you go, the one you're showing us today, uh, I can see why you got that.
Thank you.
Awesome. I
what
love
else
it.
have you gotten?
Yeah, so my family and I were testimonial speakers at the Fraser Gala in 2021, and we had a big audience for like 800 people. And one of the target workers, Tony, who works with CEO Brian, he saw us and he shared a story. He and Brian shared a story out to 200 investors in New York City. And a month later, Brian, the CEO of Target, came to the Hudson store to visit.
Oh
To
my
meet Lindsay.
gosh.
Yes, to meet me.
To meet you.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Okay, so you're making an impact
thank you.
where you work and in the nation, on the
And
world.
you've gotten, what was your latest award, Lindsay?
Yeah, a couple months ago, I received 2024 Outstanding Volunteer Award, and then And then a couple months later, my HR nominated me to be the recipient of the Most Valuable Award, Volunteer Award throughout the target nations, and I've been selected for that.
Oh my gosh, congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
So you went from wanting an award or a trophy to like getting several now, just
Yeah,
for being
I'll take
you,
it.
right? Wow, you're just so inspiring, Lindsay.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
And more inspiring stuff. We have to touch on that you're also an illustrator. How
Yeah,
long have you been interested in that? I know you said in preschool, I think you said you like to go by the easel and drawing
yeah.
and stuff. So has it been since you were little?
Yeah, art has been passion throughout my life. I just love to draw almost every day after school. And then it became my gifted talent at the age 13. So then during my art, I always wanted to be an illustrator because when I was reading books growing up, I thought it'd be really fun to create stories, create pictures in your mind, what you come up with. And then all of a sudden, after by doing this one drawing of Coda the Fluff, that's when I became an illustrator.
Oh, well, that's funny. That's the next question I was going to ask you was about
Yeah.
Code of the Fluff. My Code of the Fluff books are on order right now. So I'll be getting them when they
Cool.
come back in stock and everything's ready. But can you tell us about Code of the Fluff books? Who's Coda and
Yeah.
what are they about?
Coda the Fluff is the cutest therapy dog driving her little red car in Florida. She does a lot of videos to keep everything positive in this world. She even does like educational videos like driving, like getting a driver's license, parking a handicap. It's just educational driving videos, which is based off of the books that I've illustrated. The first book is Coda the Fluff Gets a Driver's License. The second book that just came out recently is Coda the Fluff Gets Told.
Oh, gets towed?
Yes.
Oh no. Oh my gosh. Okay, I can't wait to get both of these stories. This is awesome. And how have people, what's your feedback been on the stories and the illustrations?
It's been a positive feedback. They just been all over the story. They just get so excited.
Awesome. And you mentioned videos. Where can
Yeah.
people find those videos?
So it's on social media. You can see them on Facebook. You just have to follow Coda the Fluff. And it's also on Instagram and YouTube. And she has the website, codathefluff.com, where you can order books and other merchandises.
That's awesome. And you kind of run that and come up with the ideas and illustrations. That is
Yeah.
so cool.
With the help of the owner, yes.
Yes, to help the owner.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. We always say the human, because when it says the stories written by Coda, it's like, well, there is a human involved.
I love that. I'm gonna go follow Coda. I guess I heard of Coda the Fluff, but I didn't know that you had another book coming out. I didn't really realize there were videos. So I'm gonna, in the show notes for this episode, I'll post all the links that we can for that.
That's
And
great.
Perfect.
you're also part of another book series, right? Can you
Yeah.
tell me about that?
Absolutely. It is called the Little Lindsay series. So I wanted to decide to do a children's book series on about autism because I want to help children and adults with all ages better understand of what it's like living with autism. So first book we did was called Little Lindsay Gets a Haircut. So basically growing up I was really sensitive to getting haircuts because of how tugging and pulling it hurts so bad. It feels like you're ripping out the band-aid really fast. That's how my haircuts feel. It's really hard to brush and all that stuff. So that's the first book about it. Second book is called Picky Little Lindsay's a Picky Eater. Growing up, there's so much foods I didn't like, and it's just too I'm really sensitive about the smell, the look, the taste of it. The third book is Little Lindsay Makes a Friend, so that's part of growing up years. Like it's really hard to make friends. So I thought that's a very important thing for people to learn that people with autism can have challenging times making friends. And then the fourth book that's out pretty soon is Little Lindsay Goes to Therapy, a sibling story. and my sister Brittany is involved in that, and I'm really happy because I know all siblings are affected with their siblings with special needs, autism, or others, and they can be left out or excluded. And I thought that's very important for everyone to have siblings be included.
Yeah, that is such a great topic for a book. All of those topics, but the new one coming out with about siblings,
Yeah.
uh, so many times through the years, parents have said, like, how can I explain things to his sister or her brother?
Yeah.
So I can't wait to get my hands on that one too. This is
Yeah.
awesome.
And that's so my sister Linda, and she's of course our writer. And Tara, you know Linda, but yeah,
Yes.
Linda's been just an incredible advocate for Lindsay and our family and writing. And she's always like, "Well, I'm your ghostwriter." I'm like, "No, you're." She's just amazing. So she's done just an incredible job with helping the girls write, and yeah, the whole. I mean, being super supportive for me as a mom. So yeah, she's amazing, and my parents, of course, and so just, and that's a lot of, like, I think too, when people say, yeah, that's great that Lindsay has had a village of support in getting these books out, but when you don't have that, where do you turn to? And I always just kind of shrug my shoulder, and it's like, I don't know. We're just trying to give people more materials so they have a better understanding and part of, like, you're not alone in this journey.
Yeah, that's so important because I know a lot of parents, families, they do feel kind of isolated. And like when you were talking about when Lindsay was young, not being able to bring her out places and how to talk to siblings, how to talk to family members, all of that are real challenges that families face.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So I think it's great that you're writing about it and your Aunt Linda, she is a phenomenal teacher, and I was lucky enough to work with her when I was at the elementary level for 12 years, and she definitely made an impact on my teaching um, because she's just so dedicated and just a great human being.
Right? Absolutely. Yeah. We always say, what would we do without Aunt Linda? Yeah.
So, Lindsay, is there anything else that we didn't cover that you wanted to add?
Yeah, so the reason why I wanted to write a family story is I want to help people better understand, educate, and I just want to help others living with autism not go through what I went through.
The hard parts.
Yes.
Yeah. And I wonder if there's one thing you could tell teenagers,
Yes.
neurotypical teenagers, what would you tell them so that they don't bully or treat people the way that you were treated?
Yeah, choose kindness. And if you ever watched the movie Bambi, remember the advice, if you don't say something nice, say nothing at all.
Oh, okay. That's a perfect way to end our conversation. Thank you, both of you, for being
Yes.
such positive lights in this world. And
Thank
thank you
you.
so much for coming on the show.
Thank you.
Thank
It's
you for
been an
having us,
incredible
Tara.
honor.
Yes, and we'll have to talk again in the future, okay?
Perfect.
Absolutely.
Sounds great.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye bye.
Bye.